Hey everyone, welcome back to my Minecraft world, and I just want to say thank you so much for all the support you gave me in the last episode. And for this next episode, we're gonna dive into some more Reddit stories. This one's are really intense, all relationship-based dramas, and we're gonna try to expand my Minecraft world some more. I want to try to build an automatic chicken farm, and so yeah, let's see how that goes. All right, so let's go for the first story. This story title is called Former Teacher Married a Fellow Student Who She Adopted. In middle school, I had a teacher, let's say Mrs. Johnson, who was definitely way too close with a lot of students. At the time, though, everyone loved her, so no one really batted an eye. My mom even told me to stay away from her. She's also an educator. Because she was creepy. I was too naive at the time to understand. She was specifically very close with this one student, a teammate of mine. Let's say his name was Brandon. Brandon got really close with her and her family, and he was in foster care, and in high school, Mrs. Johnson, her husband, who also worked in education, adopted him. Side note, they also have two kids together. Fast forward a few years, he's a junior in high school, and it was found out that Mr. Johnson caught Mrs. Johnson and Brandon having sex during a family event. After this, they got divorced, and Mrs. Johnson moved to Florida to avoid all the controversy around our city. Everyone kind of forgot about it and moved on, and I remembered today 5 years later and looked her up on Facebook, and her profile picture was her and Brandon on jet skis. Oh my word, what the hell? This is so crazy. And get this, she now had Brandon's last name in her Facebook profile and also had a photo of their hands with rings together. Oh my word, what? It made me sick how open she was about completely grooming and taking advantage of him at such a young age and took it into adulthood. Wow, this was a crazy story. Yeah, so I mean, my thoughts on this is kind of weird. It's like I feel disturbing vibes coming off of the teacher, as I think she was like manipulating him because he was a minor and still a little bit too young to process what he's doing. But in the end, I'm pretty sure he was just being led because of sex. But I don't know. I think it's pretty crazy that she left her husband and two kids for a minor. I don't understand. Oh my word. That's really all I have to say about this. This is so intense. What the hell? All right, so let's go on to our next story, which is called A Stranger Sat Outside My Home Every Night. I finally found out why. It all started when I moved into my new home in late October. It had barely been a week when I saw him for the first time. I was washing dishes when headlights flashed across my front window and stopped. I looked out and saw an older sedan parked directly across the street with the engine still running. Behind the wheel was a man who was just sat there, staring. I thought it was weird, but I just tried to ignore it, so I went back to washing my dishes. When I finished about 30 minutes later, I checked again and the same man was still sitting there. It was creeping me out, but I had literally just moved into the home and I didn't want to overreact and freak out if it was nothing. So I just closed my curtain and went about my business. A couple hours later, right before I went to bed, I checked again. The car was finally gone. But then the very next night, it happened again, and again the next night. After that, every night the same man in the same car would park there and would just sit there for hours. Sometimes he would be writing something, but mostly he was just staring at my home. I told myself not to be dramatic. People sit in cars for all kinds of reasons. Maybe he lived with someone that he was just trying to avoid, or who didn't want him smoking inside. Or maybe it was just part of some weird routine and my house just happened to be in front of him. One evening, I stepped outside under the pretense of taking out the trash. The man was older, late 60s maybe. He didn't even look my way, just kept staring straight ahead. I called out to him. Hello, I said. He turned his head. Evening, he replied. before turning to stare straight ahead again. He didn't say anything more, so I went back inside. I called the non emergency police line on the seventh night. I rehearsed the explanation while it rang, trying to make myself sound reasonable. I emphasized that I wasn't accusing anyone of anything, just reporting a strange pattern. A patrol car showed up 20 minutes later. The officer listened, nodded, then walked across the street to speak with him. They talked for maybe 2 minutes. I couldn't hear what they said, but there was no tension or raised voices. After that, the officer came back and told me exactly what I had already suspected. He's not doing anything illegal, he said. He's parked on a public street. He's not approaching your property. He's not recording. He's watching my house, I said. He says he's keeping an eye on the neighborhood. That's not comforting? I understand, the officer said, in the tone people use when they're done understanding. If anything changes, give us a call. In the meantime, maybe keep your curtains closed. As the patrol car pulled away, I watched the man turn his dome light back on and resume writing. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every sound made me jump. At 2 a.m., I finally gave in and Googled the address of my home along with keywords like death, murder, and crime. Nothing came up except normal real estate records. The next day, there was an envelope in the mailbox. No stamp, no return address, not even my name, just my address. Inside was a handwritten letter. I'm sorry for frightening you. I know how hard this must look. Your house used to be my son's, but I never visited him the entire 12 years he lived there. We were estranged because I was a lifelong alcoholic and terrible father to him growing up. He cut me out of his life and I never made the effort to redeem myself like I should have. He died 6 months ago in an armed robbery at a gas station. He was standing in line waiting to pay when an armed man stormed inside. My son wasn't armed, but another man in line was and pulled out his gun to face the robber. They started shooting at each other and a bullet hit my son and killed him instantly. I sit out there because I can't let it go. I'm writing letters to him, things I should have said when he was alive. I'll stop coming by. You deserve peace in your home. I hope you'll be happy there. My hands were shaking as I set the letter down. I looked out my front window. The sedan wasn't there. It didn't show up the next night either, or any other night after that. Sometimes I still think about him sitting alone in his car, writing letters that would never be read. I hope he found some kind of peace. I'm still not sure I have. So yeah, this is a really sad story. I can't even imagine what the father must be going through. It's sad that he never went to talk to his son. I get that, but still not going to talk to him and then just one day his son gets shot and killed. I don't know. I can't imagine the grief his father is going through with that. And then I feel bad for the old lady, but what to do about it because I honestly feel really bad for the guy in the car writing his letters to his dead son that he should have told him in person. Oh well. Let's move on to the next story now. Alright, so for the next story, the title is My Girlfriend's Ultimate Betrayal, How I Found Out She Was Cheating with 4 Guys. So yeah, never thought I'd be posting here, but man, I need to get this off my chest. Been with my girl for 3 years and was legit saving for a ring and everything. Then her phone starts blowing up at 2 a.m., like every night. She's all like, it's just work stuff, but like at 2 a.m.? Come on, I know everyone says don't go through your partner's phone, but whatever, I did it anyway, and holy crap, my life just exploded right there. It wasn't just one dude, 4 different guys, all these separate convos with pics I never want to see again. Them planning hookups, and worst part, they were all joking about me. One was literally my best friend since we were kids. Another was her boss. Classic, right? Our freaking neighbor from down the hall. What? And that gay friend she was always hanging out with, who was, surprise, surprise, wasn't actually gay. This had been going on for 8 months while I've been working double shifts to save for our freaking future and stuff. Wow, I'm already getting blood up. This is so freaking ridiculous, bro. What the hell? When I finally confronted her, I thought she would at least try to deny it or cry or something. Nope. She straight up laughed and was like, "Took you long enough to figure it out." What the hell? She was like, "Too predictable." And she was bored. My so called best friend texted her later saying it wasn't personal and these things happen. Like, WTF, man. I just grabbed my stuff that night while she went out to clear her head, which probably meant hooking up with one of them, to be honest. It's been like 2 months now. Moved to a different city, blocked all their asses, started therapy because I was messed up. Then yesterday she calls for some random number crying about how she made a huge mistake. Turns out boss dude fired her after getting what he wanted. Uh-oh. The neighbor moved away. My ex friend got busted by his girlfriend. Good riddance. And the gay friend ghosted her once he got bored. She had the nerve to ask if we could work things out. No, you didn't. I just laughed and hung up. Some things you just can't fix. And finding out your girlfriend's been living a whole secret life with four other dudes. Yeah, that's definitely one of them. Yo, this is so freaking brutal. I don't know how long the guy was like staying or sleeping with the girl, but damn, at least he found out and got away from her. I can't believe that she came crawling back after every one of her other boyfriends like said, "Sorry, we can't have you no more. We got bored." Like, what? This is so ridiculous. I can't believe like the other boyfriends just let this happen too. This is I don't know. I don't know what to say. I'm just my brain is hurting. This is so freaking this I think I've had enough internet for the day. I'm done. Let's go to the next story now. All right, the next story title is Toxic Situationship Horror Story. I, 28 male, was 17 at the time and hadn't really experienced love or any strong feelings for anyone at the point. A girl that I had known for a while, we'll call her Tracy, had been flirting with me for months, but I never really thought of her in that way, so I kind of brushed her off. But she was nice and seemed really into me, so I decided to give her a chance. We clicked instantly. I didn't have much experience hanging out with or talking to girls at this point in my life, but with her, it was easy. I instantly fell for her, and we'd only hung out for a week or so. Then, one day, it was like something snapped, and she started acting very cold and distant, as if she had her fun and now she was done with me, which I would later find out were obvious commitment issues. Remember, this girl had been on me for months, so you can see how this came as a real shock. I had barely experienced the talking stage and I'd already missed her like crazy. I knew I was in it for a hurting. Poor guy. Uh oh. About a week later, my friends asked me if Tracy and I were still a thing because they had heard that she already moved on to someone else that we knew. Unfortunately, she had, but I had no idea because she had still been talking to me as if I had a chance still. So I sat there like a dunce and assured everyone that we were still just talking. Uh oh. Later that night, one of my best friends sent me screenshots of Tracy talking to her new man. She had been even bad mouthing me to this guy, saying how irritated she was that she had to see me tomorrow because our families had plans together. Uh oh. I was so hurt and confused because I had done nothing wrong to her, almost like I was an annoyance for giving her the attention she sought. I mean, rightfully so. Poor guy just wanted to have to get he just wanted to get through the talking stage. Poor guy. When I had confronted her about this, she lied straight to my face and she said that it was a misunderstanding and she didn't mean it like that. Unfortunately, I took her word because not only I thought it was true, but because I wanted it to be true. I was in love with the idea of her, but the real her was careless and even borderline evil. This went on for months, with her flirting and hooking up with multiple men, my friends included. Oh my word, poor dude, what the hell? And me chasing her because it was the only true connection I'd ever had with a girl. She kept me around for the constant attention and knew I would do almost anything she asked. Oh man, poor guy. I don't know what to say. This is so sad. One night, we were both at separate house parties, and she was drunk and asked me to come pick her up. Obviously, I did, even though I was drinking and should not have been behind the wheel. I took a long drive to her location and back to my house. She was love bombing me the whole ride, and I was eating it up like a sucker I was. We get to my house and go up to my room and start getting intimate. She then stops us and says that her friend was upset about her leaving the party and was coming to get her to take her back. She gets up to gather her things, and I look at her, upset because this all seems like a broken record. She sees my face, stops, looks at me in the eye, and says, "What? Do you know something that I don't?" This caught me off guard, but I replied, "No," because I didn't think much of it. I go to walk her downstairs and she says, "My friend's really pissed, so I'm gonna go meet her in the driveway. You don't have to come out. I don't want her yelling at you." It was at this point that I stopped and thought that something had to be up. I looked on with suspicion as she walked out and halfway up my very long driveway. She gets in the car and they turn around in my yard. This was extremely odd, but I was too caught up in the fact that she had left me hanging again and if I would ever be happy. Oh, poor guy just needs some love. Next morning, she texts me and says that she messed up. Hello, what? My heart sank and my stomach dropped to the floor. It wasn't her friend that picked her up, it was my teammate. Oh, what? He picked her up and they immediately pulled over in a neighborhood close by and hooked up in his car. What the hell? Okay, this is ridiculous. Poor bro almost gets there and then just gets side jumped for his teammate. This is so ridiculous. I had never felt that kind of mental pain in my life, and I still hadn't till this day. I dropped to the floor, not knowing what to do with myself. I suffered from anxiety, so everything was amplified to 100. I grabbed the keys, ran out my house, and went for a drive. I believe this was my first panic attack. I didn't make it far, and my dad was waiting for me when I got back. Both him and my mom could tell something was up. They tried to cheer me up and take my mind off of it, but I spent the rest of the day sulky and depressed. The worst part is, I had practice the next day with the very kid she was with the night before. Unable to cope with this, I missed school and practice the next day as the ordeal had left me mentally and physically ill. I like to be able to say that it stopped here and learned a hard lesson, but unfortunately, she went on for many more years, and I had countless other horror stories. I never knew that you could really feel that mentally sick and beaten down, like I had sinking in a never ending pit. Every week was a roller coaster and a struggle to stay above water. She stayed in contact with me, and I couldn't let her go even through college. I liked the attention and longed for her approval. It got so bad that I had turned into a cold and heartless person myself just to make it feel like I was getting back at her. I was a complete stranger compared to who I was before her. I'm now in a new relationship and it really opened my eyes to what real love and appreciation is. I don't have to break my back for her attention, and she goes out of her way to make me happy. She is truly a blessing and makes every day brighter, and I still have no idea how I got so lucky after making so many wrong choices. When you're young, you think every little thing is the end of the world, but I promise you, it's not. It will get better. Just stay true to yourself, and someone will love you for who you are. Man, throughout the whole story, I could not just stop and think about how I feel so bad for that guy. poor dude just wanted the girl to love him, but she was out making out, hooking up with all his best friends and teammates. Man, dude, I don't know. This is feeling kind of nostalgic in my life because I remember when I was younger too. I had a similar situation to this guy. Head over heels for the girl, and then she goes out and starts, giving more attention to another guy who is also your friend, and you're just left there to pick up the pieces afterwards and like think, hey, can I have some love and attention too? I don't know. I feel so bad for this guy, but what he said at the end was actually so true. When you're young, you think about every little thing is the end of the world, but I promise it's not. It will get better. Just stay true to yourself, and someone will love you for who you are. And that is true. Just true to yourself, and I promise, in the end, things will get better. You will find your person, and I mean, eventually, I did find my person too, and it is the best thing in the world. Way better than whatever you would have dreamed of, what you saw in high school or middle school. And I invite you guys in the comments, if you have a similar story to this poster, please just email me from the email in the description, or just comment your story if it's something similar in the comments. I really am curious to know if other people have experienced something like this as well. Anyway, let's move on to the next story. For the next story, the title is I'm Related to My Boyfriend. Just as the title says, I'm related to my boyfriend. I met my boyfriend on a dating app. We come from different cities and all that too. My dad is a genealogist on the side. He does it for fun. When I told him that me and my boyfriend were pretty serious, he looked him up. He found his family tree and all that. A few days later, he came up to me with some papers, a bunch of handwritten notes and names. He straight up told me with a smile that my boyfriend and I were related. He laughed his ass off. I was genuinely shocked. Apparently, we share a common ancestor from the 1600s, which I guess isn't a huge deal, but still crazy to me. What are the odds? Especially for it to have proof of it. I told my boyfriend and he was weirded out a little, but honestly, we didn't care. Still going strong 2 years later, I think it's hilarious now. He refuses to tell his family though. Oh my word, this this story is so ridiculous. From the 1600s, I think we and I and everyone were all thinking something completely different, if you catch my drift. Okay, let's move on to the next story. The next story is called I Accidentally Told My Sister About Our Mom's Affair and Now My Family is Blowing Up. So this all happened because I opened my big mouth. A few weeks ago, I found out our mom has been seeing someone behind my dad's back. I wasn't supposed to know. I just overheard a phone call and then saw some messages pop up on her tablet. I kept it to myself until last night when my sister and I were talking and she mentioned how weird mom had been acting lately. I didn't plan to say anything, but it just slipped out. As soon as the words left my mouth, I knew I messed up. My sister confronted our mom right away, and now everything is chaos. My dad is devastated, my mom is furious at me, and my sister is crying nonstop. Everyone keeps saying I ruined the family. I feel awful but also confused. I didn't create the affair, I just didn't keep the secret. I don't know if I was wrong for telling the truth or if they are just angry because it all came out. Dun dun dun. Yeah, so I don't think the sister is wrong in any case. I mean, the person that's definitely wrong in this story is the mother, and the sister was just sharing a secret with the other sister. I don't see anything wrong with that. I mean, it's kind of funny. Wish this kind of got filmed or something. I don't know. It's the kind of drama you think about when you're reading these Reddit stories. Like, what happened afterward? We need an update to this story. I don't know. I have my assumptions, but you can think your own assumptions too. Anyway, let's move on to the next story. All right, so for the next story, it's called "Am I a Pick Me Girl?" Okay, here we go. I've always been the loudest person in a room with my friends and family. Same at school too. I'm a class clown. I don't come in the pretty girl criteria, but I've always been the funny girl. A few months back, I was in the university auditorium. I've never been a bully, and I've never been bullied too, but there's this girl, AB, who likes to intimidate girls. She was doing what she always does, making fun of a girl whose face, according to her, looked like a pig. I felt so bad I started making funny noises to shift the focus from her. And then there's this guy, JR, who is in the band from our department, laughed. We've been friends from freshman year. AB didn't like that. She turned to me, gave me this piercing stare, and then walked away. Same afternoon when me, JR, and our other friends, we were having lunch together, I saw PK, the girl who was bullied in the cafeteria, looking for a place to sit. I invited her over, then she sat with us. We instantly became friends with her. Then it became kind of like a ritual. Everyone from our group, we were all used to wait for PK to join us for lunch, though she was from a different department. Last week, we were in the cafeteria, and JR said that she wants to play The Scientist by Coldplay for the upcoming event. And that was always been on my playlist, so I was just in a funny way, is it because I love that song? Come on, stop crushing on me. And everyone laughed. But PK abruptly said, not everything's about you. I thought she was joking just like me, so I laughed, but I noticed no one else was laughing. I felt a bit embarrassed, but this happens to me quite a lot, so I just brushed it off. Then, 2 days ago, all of us were in the music room where JR and our other friends were doing their final rehearsal, and I had invited PK to watch too. She came late, looked a bit annoyed as I had invited her in the last moment. It was all of a sudden, anyways, but I still apologized to her. Then, after the rehearsal was over, the guys in the band said to win the interdepartment, all they need is some luck. So I just joined the conversation and said that for them to win, they would have to treat me with a nice meal at Nando's. And they started roasting me for being the most jinxed person on the planet. Then JK suddenly rushing towards me, lifted me and said, guys, I'll just throw her in the trash can so she cannot jinx us anymore. It was all playful jabs until that same afternoon I met PK in the cafeteria and she out of nowhere confronted me with questions like, you can't stay silent for a moment or you will die when the attention is not on you. Why are you doing all this? To impress JR? Ah, you're such a pick me. I didn't understand what had just happened. Everyone was looking at me for the first time. I was in the room full of people, silent and embarrassed. I don't know if I deserved it or not, but all this I've been thinking about is that, am I a pick me? Yeah, so I mean, I know my opinions are different than everyone else's, but I honestly feel bad for the poster or the girl in the situation. It just sounds like she was being herself. And then out of nowhere, this other girl that she helped save from the bully and invite her to her group, like remind me, her group, right? This is her friend group. And then suddenly she has to throw this label on her. I mean, that would make anyone start overthinking everything they do. Not every woman is trying to impress someone or tear other people down. I think this girl was just trying to be chill, and this is how she always acted in her group. Her friends expected that. Her friends enjoyed being around her. It wasn't a bad thing. I don't know. This is ridiculous. Sometimes, you're just different and people read way too much into that. I think the problem is the girl, the other girl, the one that she helped save from the bully. Because I don't know. In my personal experience, I think when people are bullied in this so much and then someone else comes and saves them, when they join the group or they get invited to join the group, they start, I guess, labeling the people in that group and like putting them down because I feel like it's kind of like a negative thing. So like they've been bullied for so long that all they know is not bullying. They don't know any kind of like other atmosphere in like a school setting. I don't know so much, but that's just my opinion. If you have another opinion, please leave it in the comment and yeah, we can discuss it. Anyway, let's move on to the next story now. Alright, so this next story is called My Half Brother is Expecting a Child and I Don't Want to Meet My Future Niece or Nephew. Hi, I really need advice on this. I'm discussing this with my therapist, but wanted to see what other people's take on this as well. There's going to be quite a lot of background and also a mention of physical abuse. I, 35 female, have a pretty complicated family background. I have grown up with my mom and my stepdad, who she met when I was 3. They had 5 kids together and so they are all now 31 male, 30 male, 29 male, 18 female, and 17 male. My mom has always been very conservatively Christian, and I remained a Christian until I was 27, at which point I left the church and the faith. My stepdad was an abusive piece of drank a lot, and physically assaulted my mom, and disciplined us kids by hitting us anytime we did anything out of turn. I grew up not really having friends because I was never allowed to see anyone. Super awkward kid at school with barely any social skills. Home life was frightening, and I dreaded coming home from school every day because there would be inspections. When I was 16, my stepdad, in a drunken rage, actually physically assaulted me to the point where I was left with a black eye and a bloody nose. And it took my mom, who had a newborn in her arm, and all three of my brothers, 12, 11, and 10 at the time, to get him off of me. I ended up having to apologize to him for antagonizing him. Fast forward many years and a lot has happened. Was kicked out at 19, moved away, and have not spoken to my stepdad in 13 years because he refused to take accountability for his actions. My family lives in a 4-hour drive away from me, and my mom and I have had a period of no contact. The last few years, it's been an occasional contact, which has felt like more of an obligation than anything. She's extremely conservative, and we butt heads on every single topic. My siblings and I have never developed a relationship after I moved out. They are all still living in the same town/townhouse, and I believe my three older brothers are quite conservative as well. My oldest brother, let's call him Matt, even posted some Andrew Tate content in his socials a few years ago and argued over why abortion is the worst sin in the world. Throughout the years, he has asked me to set differences aside and just forget everything that happened in our family so that we could restart the relationship between my stepdad and I. He has seen everything I experienced and wants me to be the bigger person, which I obviously refuse to do. Matt got married last October after knowing the girl for about 6 months. The invitation came 2 weeks before the wedding, which I ended up not attending because I was too uncomfortable. He has now messaged me saying that I'm going to be an aunt as they are expecting their first child together in August. I don't know what their expectations are, but knowing him, they're probably going to want me to come visit and meet my niece/nephew. But here's the thing, I have already absolutely zero desire to do this. I have no relationship with him or the rest of the family, and while we are technically family, and while he has technically never done anything to hurt me directly, I cannot bring myself to re enter this family dynamic and show up to potentially open things up again. We have no values or interests in common, and I refuse to chance running into my stepdad there. Does this make me a bad person? Do I need to set those differences aside for my future niece and nephew? Do I have an obligation to be an aunt and a potentially safe place for this kid in the future? I have a partner that I've been with for 5.5 years, and only a few months did my mom meet him for the first time, and she was in town and had asked. No one else has met him except for my bio dad and his whole family, who I have a good relationship with, but who all unfortunately live in Europe. My mom and her family are not people I need in my life, but there is still that lingering guilt I can't seem to shake, and I don't know whether it's entirely valid or not. Yeah, so I can see where this girl is coming from. She wants to stay away from a family that has been inherently not on her side and kind of abusive from her stepfather, at least. Um, I don't blame the girl, and I think she's valid for doing this. She has her own life now, and she wants to separate her own ideals away from the toxicity of her family. Um, but I mean, it's up to her, I guess, in the end, if she will want to come back and meet her niece and nephew. I mean, that's a big part of life. And if her niece or nephew never get to know her, I think she'll regret that. So I do think when she is comfortable, she should go back and try to meet with her brother's niece and nephew. All right, so this next story is really crazy. The title is I found a camera in my Airbnb bathroom. What I discovered next destroyed my relationship. My boyfriend Jake and I booked a romantic cabin Airbnb in Colorado for our 3-year anniversary. First night there, I'm brushing my teeth when I notice something weird, a tiny hole in the shower curtain rod pointing directly at the shower. I unscrewed it. Hidden camera. I'm freaking out. My hands shaking. I immediately check the bathroom. Another one hidden in a smoke detector, aimed at the bed. Here's where it gets insane. I grabbed Jake's laptop to review the footage and see how long this had been going on. But when I plugged in the SD card, the files were organized in folders by name. And one folder was labeled Jake, March 2024. March, 5 months before our trip, before we even booked this place. I opened it, videos of Jake in this exact cabin with another woman. Same bed we were supposed to be sleeping in tonight. My hands were ice cold. I kept scrolling. More folders. Jake, January 2024. Jake, November 2023. He'd been coming here for over a year, always with someone else. Sometimes the same woman, sometimes different ones. Then I found a folder labeled owner copies. Jake wasn't a victim of this creep's cameras. He was friends with the owner. There was videos of them joking together, the owner showing Jake where the cameras were, both of them laughing while reviewing the footage of previous guests. They were running some kind of sick operation together. I called the police from the car, didn't even pack, just grabbed my stuff and ran. Jake came out confused, asking what was wrong. I didn't say a word, just drove. Cops raided the property that night, found over 300 videos, multiple victims. The owner and Jake are both facing federal charges now. Turns out Jake had been paying half price for the cabin in exchange for helping install cameras and recruit other couples. I gave my testimony yesterday. I also got tested for everything because apparently I never knew who Jake really was. The worst part was his mom called me crying, begging me not to testify, saying I'm ruining his life over a mistake. A mistake? I blocked everyone from his family. My lawyer says I might be called as a witness in multiple cases since I discovered the evidence. I can't sleep. Every time I close my eyes, I see that folder with his name on it. We were supposed to get engaged on that trip. The ring was in his suitcase. I found it when I was packing my things from his apartment. I flushed it down the toilet. Okay, so what the heck? This story is actually terrifying. This is like everyone's worst nightmare when going to Airbnb. I think this is such a viral thing now, finding cameras now in Airbnbs. What the heck? And the fact of the matter is, her boyfriend had this operation going the whole time with another guy. I'm realizing how vulnerable we are when we go out into Airbnbs and hotels and stuff. Stuff like this actually makes you think twice about how much you trust places that feel normal. It's time to really do double checking when you go traveling, I guess. Anyway, let's move on to the next crazy story. All right, so the next story is called Am I the A-hole for refusing to make any more meals for my girlfriend after she kept complaining about my cooking? Things have been great with my girlfriend for the most part. We, 28 female and 26 male, have been together for 4 years and living for two of them. Lately, there's been some tension, so I feel like maybe that's why things may have boiled over. We both work a lot, so we have both been very cranky and moody, especially my girlfriend who snapped at me a few times and have been in a really bad mood. For the past few days, what's really set her off is my cooking. I'm usually the one making breakfast, packing our lunches, and dinner. Literally, every time I've been at the stove, she complains about how bad the smell is and gives me crap about using stuff that has obviously gone bad according to her, or saying it tastes like shh and won't even finish eating. This has pissed me off. I'm not a chef, but I do pride myself in my cooking. And she's talking about how bad my food is. I've had my coworkers try my lunch and they tell me it tastes just fine. I figured with all the stress she's under at work, she's probably needing an outlet to let out her frustration. And maybe that's why she's been giving me shh about simple things. I don't know, but I snapped a little when this happened this morning. And again when she complained about the omelet I was making for us. So I actually dumped the eggs in the trash, told her she can make her own damn breakfast herself. Then I'm not cooking for her anymore if she's gonna keep acting spoiled about what I make. We ended up having an argument over this and we left for work mad. Anyways, my girlfriend didn't come home and her sister called me. My girlfriend's mad at me, and her sister thought I was being a dick for reacting so immaturely by refusing to cook for her anymore when I know she works a lot. So sometimes she doesn't have the time to prep her own meals. I don't know why this has turned into a bigger deal, but here I am sitting at home wondering if I was being an a hole for losing my cool and telling her I'm not cooking for her. Just didn't think it was fair for her to be talking about my cooking when she has never had it before and thought, well, if she doesn't like it, then she can take over the kitchen. Was I the a hole? Well, I was thinking that she was being the a hole, but at the end, I'm thinking that this whole situation could just be fixed if they both just communicated about what's going on in their lives. I'm getting the hint they just don't communicate enough in their personal life. I don't know. Anyway, this is funny because I think we all can have some experience with complaining about someone else's food. So, anyway, let's move on to the last story. All right, so for the last story for the video, I found a story called Am I the a hole for refusing to give my boyfriend access to my bank account, even though he says no secrets is how adults do it? This one's gonna be good. I'm 27 female and my boyfriend is 30 male. Together a little over 2 years, we live together and split bills pretty evenly. No shared accounts. I make a bit more than him, about 15K a more than him, but he has a stable job and pays his part on time. The conflict started this week when he told me he wants us to be a fully transparent financially because we are talking about getting engaged this year. I thought he meant sitting down, pulling credit reports, talking goals, that kind of thing. Instead, he asked me for my online banking login so he can see everything in real time. I laughed because honestly, I thought he was joking. He wasn't. He said couples who plan a future shouldn't have private money, and that if I'm refusing it, it means I'm hiding something. I told him I'm not hiding anything. I just don't want another person to be able to move money around or look at every grocery purchase I make at 11 p.m. He said he wouldn't touch anything. He just wants visibility. I offered a compromise. We can make a shared spreadsheet. I can show him statements once a month. We can open a joint account just for rent and bills, and we can both put in our share. He got irritated and said that's not the same, and that my compromises are basically me keeping a wallet. Then he dropped a line that made my stomach flip. If you trust me enough to sleep next to me, you should trust me with a password. Lord, I can't hold myself there. This is too funny. I said, that's not how trust works. And I pointed out I also don't have his passwords either. He said I can have them anytime, and he acted like that proves he's the only responsible adult in the room. I asked why he suddenly needs this now. He said he doesn't want to find out later that I have debt or that I'm sending money to someone or that I'm buying things that I shouldn't. That felt gross, like I'm being pre accused. I told him I have no debts besides my student loans. My credit is fine and I've never hidden purchases. He said he believes me, but he wants receipts. I swear those exact words came out of his mouth. I told him no, and that if he keeps pushing, I'm going to start wondering what he is trying to keep track of. Because demanding my login isn't normal. He got quiet and then went cold, like a polite, angry person. He said, I'm making a simple thing into a big deal, and that I'm acting like he's some kind of thief. Since then, he's been sulking and making these little comments like, must be nice having a private life, and guess we're not at that level. Yesterday, he even asked if I would be okay with him installing a budgeting app that links accounts and then he could see the dashboard. Same answer, no. Now he says I'm sabotaging our future and that I'm being controlling by not letting him in. I feel like I'm losing my mind because I'm not saying we can't talk about money. I'm just saying I'm not handing over access to my actual bank account. So, am I the a hole for refusing and digging up my heels in all this? I 100% do not think Poster is the a hole whatsoever. I mean, this story is just a little bit too funny for me, but he's kind of being ridiculous, and I'm starting to wonder what his hidden agenda is. Like, girl, what is he doing? So either he's suspecting you of like cheating or buying things that you shouldn't be. I don't know. I mean, at this point, either he's hiding something in his bank account and he's trying to cover it by asking for your bank account, or he just wants to see what you're up to so he can have more control. So I don't know. I don't think Poster is the a hole in this story. Hey, so we finished making the mob farm. I've AFK'd it a bit. It looks pretty good. This is all the chicken that I've AFK'd so far. I'm not gonna run out of chicken anytime soon, so this is definitely really well. And it was pretty easy to build. I enjoyed the process, and I cleared out this side of the room as well. I'm thinking that I could maybe just either build another mob farm here or copy and paste this one here, so I have double the outputs of chicken. And yeah. Anyway, guys, thanks for listening to me yap about some Reddit stories that were really interesting. If you really enjoyed listening, please leave a like and subscribe for more content coming soon.